In the early hours of June 8, 2021, thousands of police officers in 18 countries mobilized in an unprecedented operation. The world's most dangerous criminals were in shock. They believed they were untouchable, protected by supposedly military-grade encryption on their secure phones. They planned murders, coordinated shipments of tons of drugs, and spoke of corruption without any filter. But it was a digital trap designed and controlled by the FBI. How did law enforcement manage to get into the pocket of a global criminal empire? To understand their fall, you must first understand their DNA. The story of the Comancheros begins with one man, William Jock Ross, a Scottish immigrant, a former British Army engineer, forged in the harsh streets of Glasgow. His military background defined his leadership style: authoritarian, brutal, and obsessed with absolute loyalty. In 1968, in Sydney, he founded his motorcycle club. He named it Comanchero, inspired by a John Wayne movie. He proclaimed himself supreme commander and ran the club with an iron fist, forcing his members to perform paramilitary drills. The motto on the wall of his headquarters said it all: if it's white, snort it. If it's a woman or it moves, fuck it. If they snitch, kill them. But his brutality wasn't just directed outward. The bloodiest internal conflict in their history erupted over an alleged betrayal. A dispute over Ross's infidelity with another member's wife caused a fracture in the club. A dissident group, led by Anthony "Snoddy" Spencer, not only left but committed the ultimate offense. They joined a rival American club, the Bandidos, forming their first chapter in Australia. The tension exploded on Father's Day, 1984, in the parking lot of the Viking Tavern in Milperra. Brotherhood turned into a battlefield. It was an ambush. 19 Comancheros faced 34 Bandidos. The violence was savage. They used shotguns, rifles, and lead pipes. The result was a massacre that shocked Australia. 7 people died. 6 bikers and a 14-year-old girl, Lean Walters. She was only there because she was fascinated by motorcycles. A stray bullet took her life. After the massacre, the old guard began to fall. In 2002, a young and ambitious member of Lebanese origin, Mahmoud Mikhawi, led an internal coup. He and other young members brutally beat Jock Ross, stripped him of his colors and his Harley-Davidson, the ultimate humiliation in the biker world. Hawi proclaimed himself the new supreme commander. With him, violence reached a new level of audacity. In 2009, Sydney Airport became the scene of a pitched battle between the Comancheros and their arch-rivals, the Hells Angels. In front of hundreds of terrified travelers, a man was beaten to death with a 17-kilo metal pole. The security camera footage destroyed any romantic image that remained of motorcycle clubs. Hawi was convicted of manslaughter. While Hawi was in prison, Mark Buddle took control in 2011. Buddle was no mere thug. He was the CEO of crime. In 2016, he fled Australia to escape the police and established his base of operations in Dubai. From there, he ran his global drug trafficking empire, valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, using exclusively encrypted communications. Under his command, the Comancheros became a transnational corporation with chapters in Spain, New Zealand, and other countries. They transformed Australia into one of the most profitable drug markets in the world. Their expansion into New Zealand was ironically fueled by an Australian government policy. The 501 law allowed for the deportation of convicted criminals who were not citizens. Men like Basilica Nafahu, a high-ranking Comanchero, were sent to New Zealand, a country they barely knew. Instead of neutralizing the threat, Australian policy exported it. These deportees simply replicated the criminal business model they knew, establishing a new franchise of the organization in a new territory. As the Comancheros went global, law enforcement hit a wall. Criminals used hardened phones with encrypted messaging apps like Phantom Secure. Their communications were a ghost. The police were in the dark. In 2018, the FBI managed to dismantle Phantom Secure, leaving a vacuum in the black market. It was then that the FBI and the Australian Federal Police AFP had a revolutionary idea. Instead of trying to crack the next app, why not build it themselves? They found the key piece for their plan: a confidential informant, a developer who was already creating a new encrypted device and, facing a long sentence, agreed to cooperate. His pseudonym was Afgu. With his help, the FBI and AFP created ANOM. They were modified Android phones with a custom operating system called Comancheros. They couldn't make calls or use GPS. The messaging app was hidden inside a functional calculator, and it only opened with a secret code. But the real genius was inside. In the application's code, they had inserted a master key. Every message sent from an ANOM phone was silently copied and sent to a secret server controlled by law enforcement before reaching its destination. The world's most wanted criminals were using a compromised system from day one, and they had no idea. The plan was brilliant, but it had a challenge. How do you convince the world's most paranoid criminals to use your app? The FBI knew that trust couldn't be imposed. It had to grow organically. They needed an underworld influencer, someone with credibility to recommend the product. And they found the perfect candidate: Hakan Ayik, a high-profile Turkish-Australian drug trafficker, known as the Facebook gangster for flaunting his luxurious life on social media. He was on Australia's most wanted list and had a reputation for being tech-savvy and very well connected. Undercover agents gave him an ANOM phone, convincing him it was the new platform, the ultimate, unbreakable one. Ayik took the bait. Believing he was helping his associates evade the police, he became ANOM's best salesman. He recommended and personally distributed it throughout his global network of criminal contacts. Without knowing it, he was handing over his friends, his partners, and the entire criminal hierarchy on a silver platter. As AFP Commissioner Reece Kershaw later said, he was one of the coordinators of this device. He basically dobbed in his own colleagues. Trust, the pillar that held these criminal networks together, became the weapon that would destroy them. With the world's most dangerous criminals using their app, the FBI and its partners were flooded with information. They intercepted more than 27 million messages in real time. The criminals' arrogance was their downfall. Believing themselves to be invisible, they spoke with chilling frankness. They referred to ANOM as our app. They sent each other photos posing with huge amounts of cocaine and money. They openly discussed murder plots, methods for concealing drugs, and complex money laundering operations. The ultimate example of this hubris came from the Supreme Commander himself, Mark Buddle. From his exile in Dubai, he used ANOM to complain that the price of methamphetamine in Australia had dropped from $250,000 to $80,000 a kilo. His message, intercepted by the police, read: ... Their single quote says nitrogen monoxide structure, no rules, no logic, and to be honest, it's pointless. He was trying to create a commission, in the style of the Italian-American Mafia, to control the drug market. But the intelligence didn't just serve to build future cases. The police acted on 20 credible death threats, intervening to prevent murders before they happened. The same tool that criminals used to plan violence allowed law enforcement to save lives. After 3 years of covert espionage, the legal authorization for the operation was about to expire. The time had come. On June 8, 2021, law enforcement from more than 16 countries executed a massive, synchronized raid. Thousands of agents burst through doors simultaneously around the world. In Australia, 224 of the country's most dangerous criminals were arrested. In South Australia, it was the largest number of arrests in a single day in history. The Comancheros, one of the main targets, were decapitated. The AFP stated that the operation would potentially wipe out a significant part of the gang. The seizures were monumental, proof of the scale of the empire that had just fallen. Globally, more than 800 people were arrested, and over 53 tons of drugs were confiscated, along with more than 220 firearms. The operation also froze more than $58 million in cash and assets worldwide. With $55 million in Australia alone, the operation demonstrated a new model of global surveillance. The fluid collaboration between agencies like the FBI, AFP, and Europol, sharing intelligence in real time from a single source, allowed for a level of coordinated action that was previously unthinkable. Crime was transnational, and now, so was law enforcement. Ghosts in the Machineth. Final blow came for the king. Mark Buddle, the supreme commander who tried to run his empire from a penthouse in Dubai, was finally cornered. He was expelled from northern Cyprus, deported from Turkey, and arrested by the AFP as soon as his plane landed in Darwin in August 2022. Today, he is in a maximum security prison, facing charges for importing 160 kilos of cocaine, with a possible life sentence. With the Comanchero leadership in jail, the organization was left in chaos, but the criminal world, like nature, abhors a vacuum. A relatively unknown Spanish biker, Alex Vea, has been named the new world commander. The Hydra has a new head. The demand for drugs has not disappeared. Experts warn that although Operation Ironside was a devastating blow, as long as the market exists, new players will rise to supply it. The Comancheros, though severely wounded, could adapt and rebuild. But the true legacy of this operation is paranoia. It has planted a permanent seed of doubt in the mind of every criminal who relies on technology. Now, they will always have to wonder, is my encrypted phone a shield or a Trojan horse? One criminal, upon learning he was discovered, walked into a police station and turned himself in. He knew the police had everything. In the digital underworld, trust has been broken. The game has changed forever. Thank you for staying until the end. Behind every video are hours of research to bring you the complete story. If you value that effort, the best way to support us is by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next investigation.